Okay, welcome. This is going to be a unit over Microsoft Access. We will be using Access 2016. This is Chapter 1, and in Chapter 1, we are going to be looking at databases and database objectives and introduction. So we are only going to be doing Chapters 1 and 2 for Access. Oops, that made that really big. I was just trying to zoom in a little bit. And so in the first chapter, we're basically going to look at the functions of the Access window. We will be creating a database and creating tables in that database. We'll add records to the table. We'll learn how to open and close, how to print the contents of a table, how to import data from an Excel file. We will be creating and using a query and a form and reports. We will be able to modify the report in the layout view and do some special database operations. And then we'll design a database to satisfy a collection of requirements. So first of all, the term database. This basically describes a collection of data organized in a manner that allows access, retrieval, and use of that data. Many businesses use a database. The school will use a database. There's a database management system so that the secretaries can easily pull up which students are freshmen, which students are male and freshmen, which students are in a certain class at a certain time. And so a database basically is a storage of information that allows you to easily access it without accessing the whole thing. So you can do a search for that information. So Excel is really good. I really enjoy Excel because you can filter and sort data, but not at all like you can with Access. Access, you can put in lots of different criteria or qualifications to make it give you that answer. So a database management system is software that allows you to use the computer to create a database. So we will be using Access. We will add, change, delete data in the database, ask and answer questions concerning the data, and create forms and reports using that data. So that's basically what a database is. The company we're going to be working with for Chapter 1 and 2 is called PrattLast Associates. They're a human resource outsourcing company that's going to provide some HR services. And so the databases that we use are going to work with those. Skipping down here, in a rational database. A rational database is like those that are maintained by Access. It consists of a collection of tables, each which contains information on a specific subject. So, for example, if we look at the database associates, there are two tables. There is the account table, which is all the accounts that we manage the information for. And then we have the account manager table, which is all the managers. These are basically your salespeople. So here at the school, we might have a student table, and then we might have a teacher table. So then we can pull information. We can match up a student who happens to be in this teacher's class, and with that teacher, we can also see what their phone number is, for example. So when you look at a table, just like a table in Word or when we were working in Excel, you're going to have rows that go across and columns that go up and down. All the rows that go across are called a record. The record contains information about the item. So for example, this row here, that it's the top row, that is a record for the Avondale Community Bank. You as a student would have a student record. That is your individual information. So as the opposite of a record is a field. The field is the type of information. So for this one up here, for example, the account name is a field title. The street is a field title. So basically the field, think of that as the blank boxes that you need to fill in, where the record is the actual information pertaining to that person. Okay? So your record would have all your information. Your field might say first period, and then the record would show that you were in cat time and who that teacher was. So this one, the first field in the account table is called AC number, which is an abbreviation for the account number, and we will assign that account number. The last two numbers consist of two uppercase letters followed by a 3-digit number. That's important because we're going to be setting it up so that that's the only way those can work. Account numbers are unique in that no two accounts have the same number. Such a field is called a unique identifier. A unique identifier, for example, in real life might be your social security number. At the school, it might be your lunch number or your library number. The unique identifier can also be called a primary key. You're going to need to know this for your test. And so on this one, because the account number is the unique identifier or primary key, no two accounts can have the same account number. Okay. So we are ready to get started. So we're going to go ahead and open Access. When you open Access, the first thing it's going to do is ask you a question. Do you want to create one that you've already done? Or do you want to open a blank database? So you are going to click one time, not double click, but click one time on blank database. By clicking one time, it's going to come up and allow you to save it and put it where you want it. So you're going to be able to name it and put it where you want it to go. If you double click, it's going to open it blank, and then you're going to have to do the file save as. But clicking one time will allow you to fix this. So we are going to name this one AC1 for Access Chapter 1, Pratt. And then I want you to go ahead and put your initials or your name after it. Be sure that you put it where you want it to go. So here I'm going to hit the little folder and put it wherever you need it to be. Downloads is not where you should put yours, but that's where I put mine because I do the same database several times. I'm going to hit OK and then hit Create. All right. So as you open it up, we're going to see our Access window. So let's just look around the Access window for a minute. Up here, you're going to see the title of your database. You still have your maximize, minimize, and close buttons up here. This is going to be your work area, your table area. Over here, we have a navigation pane because it'll list all the tables or forms or reports that we actually create. So this is kind of your work area if you were thinking about PowerPoint. Down at the bottom, we do have a status bar. So that kind of is your window. So here you might have multiple tables open. So if you're thinking about Excel and you had different sheets in your worksheet with different tabs, well, now your tabs are on the top. So you can have them open and it lists them down the side like it did in PowerPoint with a slide. Okay. First thing we have to do is the book. I'm going through a lot in the book. There is a lot in the introduction, so I am going through that for you. So we've talked about fields and tables. It does talk in your book about sizes. Names can be up to 64 characters in length. They can contain letters, digits, and spaces, as well as most punctuation. However, if you're naming a table or a field, it cannot contain a period, exclamation mark, an accent mark, or a square bracket. And each field in a table must have a unique name. So I couldn't just name my fields class, class, class. I'd have to say class 1, class 2, class 3. Your primary key, you're going to want to determine what that's going to be. Often you'll have an obvious choice. However, if you don't, you can just call it ID and make it automatic, and Access will create an ID for it. There are different types of data for your fields. So the book talks about 4 of them, and I'm on page 7 if you're following along. Short text. This is probably one of the most common used. It can contain any characters, and it can be 255 characters in length. Not the title, but the actual information you put in. So that would be short text. A number field can contain only numbers, and these numbers can be either positive or negative, but it's not necessarily because it is called a 1 would be your answer, or 1, 2, 3, that's not necessarily a number. So it's talking about a number that you would use for math. So some examples of non-number numbers would be a zip code or a phone number. So in Access, those are not considered numbers. They're going to be considered short text because you're not doing math with those numbers. You could have used letters the same as they use numbers. The third kind is currency. This is going to contain money. So any values that would deal with money, and they will appear with like dollar signs, commas, decimal point. And the fourth one is date and time. So this would be a field that contains dates and times. There's some more information there, but next is going to be creating a table. So you can create your table two different ways. You can do it in a data sheet view and design view. So the first thing we're going to do is it came up with a blank table for us. It's called Table 1, and we are ready to start modifying this table. We will immediately begin by naming our fields. Remember, fields are going to be like ID number, your name, your address. And up on the ribbon, you can see that I'm currently in the field one, but you can always go to create if you did not get a table, and you can create a table this way. So I'm going to go back to field. So what we're going to do is carefully follow along with me. Try not to click outside of the box I'm on. Sometimes if you click below the line you're on, it's going to make you create that unique identifier, and then you have to save it, and then you have to delete it. So just follow along carefully. It's not as bad as it sounds. And make sure that your spelling is perfect in this, because whenever we go to do some of the queries or searches later, if you have misspelled a word, that may not show up. So make sure that you spell correctly. So first thing we want to do is we do not want our field to be named ID. Access automatically created this as our unique field name, and that is not what we want it to be. Okay, just a second. I'm going to need to pause the recording. Okay, and back to Access. Sorry about that. So it created this unique field for us. We want to rename that one from ID because we actually want to call it the account number. So I'm going to right click on that column heading where it says ID. I'm going to get a menu, and here I can get the option to rename my field. Now I'm not clicking down here in new. I'm still just up here in the field titles, and I'm going to name it Account Manager Number. And over here, so I'm going to click in the white space immediately below the field name. So I did click down here now. So that put in Account Manager Number. Because this data type needs to be changed from an auto number, see where it says auto number, and that means Access will automatically create the number for us. Well, we have our own numbering system, so I'm actually going to change that to be short text. So that's all there really is to setting up your field names, is putting in the title and changing it to being short text, and you may have to change the field size or whatever you want here. So we do want to change our field size because we only have 2 characters for our fields, for our account manager number. So we're going to change that to 2. And then we're going to go ahead and hit the name and caption button. So name and caption. Name is what the field is actually named. Caption is kind of an alias, or what you might see on your table. So because account manager number is very long, we're going to create a caption for that. And we're going to call it AM space and the number sign. Oops, and I want that M to be capitalized. So account manager space number sign. You can also add a description. We're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to call it the unique identifier of an account manager. And hit OK. So that field is all set up, ready to go. We're now going to define the remaining fields in the table. So where it says click to add, I just click there. I tell it what kind of field I want the next one to be. This is going to be a person's last name, so it's going to be short text. Then whenever it comes up, it highlights field 1, and I can type last name. So it's already short text. I click the blank space below it, and I want that field size to be 15. Make sure whenever you click below it that it does go right below last name. So whenever you change your field size, Otherwise, if it had come over here, I would have been changing the field size of the account manager. So that's what I want to do is right here. Okay, you're going to use the same technique to add the remaining fields in the account manager table. So if you're looking at the book, you can see the table on page 9. That's the easiest place to see it. It says, so let me just pull that up really quick for you on the screen so you can see where I'm looking at. Page 9. So if you don't have your book with you, you will be able to pause the video. If I can find page 9, here it is. So here is what we're going to be entering. We have done the account manager number already. It was short text, field size of 2. It was the primary key. We put in the description and the caption. We've also done the last name of short text at 15. So you're going to go ahead and do the rest of these. And I'm going to do them with you so you can just watch. So I'm going to go back to Access. Okay, so my next one is going to be short text. It's going to be first name. Click below it. Make sure I'm below it. Field size is going to be 15. Oops. 15. Click to add the next one. It is also short text. Oops, I clicked off of it. So now that I clicked off of it, I have to actually right click and hit rename. It's okay, not a problem. That's going to be the street. Click below it to accept it, and I want to change the field size of the street to 20. Next one is going to be the state, which is short text. State. Click below, and field size of 2, because we'll put in an abbreviation. Next one is going to be the postal code. So this is numbers. However, it's going to be short text because we will not be doing math with the numbers. So postal code. In case you guys don't know, postal code is zip code. Then click below and come up here and do my field size of 5. Next one is going to be my start date. So a start date, it's going to say is date and time. And then I'm going to call it start date. And you'll see in the book, it says field size. You don't need it. That's because it's going to be formatted as date and time. So you can't put in a field size here. So we're going to go to the next one, which is going to be the salary. A salary is currency or money. And then the last one is going to be the bonus rate, which is a number because we're going to be using that in math. So we're going to call that bonus rate. It is a number. Okay, so there's a couple more things we're going to change on this bonus rate one. So we have it as number. Field size, it's going to be single. That's the way it's automatically going to do. We're also going to change the format to be fixed. So here where it has format, we're going to hit the drop down arrow and mean fixed. And decimal places, here where you see decimal places, we want 2. So right now it's showing as 2. So you can always increase and decrease your decimal places here, just like you did when you worked with Word or I guess Excel. Okay, so those are our field names all in. Go ahead and hit save. So to save it, what we're going to do is hit the save button up here. There's 2 of them. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the regular save. It's going to say, what do I want to name my table as? This is where you're going to name it. So I'm going to call it account manager. And hit OK. Now you can see it renamed it here. It also renamed it here. Now if I would have accidentally went over that step and just hit OK and called it table, I can always come over here to my tables and I can rename it over here by right clicking on that. All right. So a couple more things I do want to show you right here is you want to make sure your columns are the correct length. So just like you did in Excel, you can always come up here and double click and it's going to make your column the width you want it to be, or you can drag it out. So make sure before you ever turn something in that your columns are all wide enough. So now it fits our field names, but once we start entering data, we may actually need to make those columns a little bit wider. So that was using one way. Let's actually look at our table in design view. So that was data sheet view. It looks like a table. We can also go to design view. I actually think it's easier to set up your table in design view, but it's a personal choice to you. So here we can see all of our field names, what their data type is, if we added a description, and then down here there's more information about them. So depending on whether it's a short text, date, time, currency, or number, there's going to be some options down here. So double check, make sure you spelled everything correct. Make sure that your data types are all correct. Everything's going to be a short text except for your date and time for start date, salaries, currency, and bonus rate is a number. Okay, so we can also change our field size in design view. So we're going to be changing the field size for the bonus rate to single, the format to fixed, and the number of decimal places to 2. So we already did the decimal places, but let's go through this. So I'm going to click on bonus rate. Whenever I click on bonus rate, because it's a number, I get different options down here at the bottom. So for bonus rate, right here it has long integer. I'm going to, under field size, I'm going to click on it, and whenever I do, I get a drop-down arrow. I'm going to click my drop-down arrow, and I'm going to change it to single. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on format. It's normally going to be blank, but we would change this to fixed. So you can always click on that and then choose fixed. And decimal places, we've already got it set at 2, so just double check that that's 2. If it wasn't, you could click on it and type in the number that you wanted it to be. So let's go ahead and hit save, just your regular save again. This time it did not ask you to name the table because your table's already named. So we're going to close the table, but do not close from up here. That is not what you want to do. That would close your entire Access database. We just want to close this table. So we're going to close out of our little working area here with the little gray X. Okay, so now I have closed that table. Now let's add some records. So we're going to add in all of our account information. You can create the table by building the structure and saving the table as the first step in the two-step process. The second is to add the records. So we're going to, there's a couple different ways to do this. The book wants me to show you this way. So you could right click on Account Manager and hit Open. And it's going to open it up. You could also, let me show you another way. I could also double click it and it would open. So if right now I'm in database view, if I wanted to be in design view, I could come here, but you're going to enter your records in database view. The book does tell you if you like to close this, you can hit the arrow here. I like to have mine open, but if it's taking up too much room, you can go ahead and minimize that so you don't see it. But I like to have mine open, but it's just a personal preference to you. Okay, so we're ready to start entering. So my account manager, first one is 42. I can hit tab or arrow across. The last name, this is Lou, L-U. His first name is Peter. His address is 5624 Murray Avenue in Davidson. Oops, I missed something. Do you guys see what I missed? And maybe you guys didn't miss it. I did not enter a street here. I went straight to state. So let me go ahead and finish the rest of him, and then I'll show you how to fix that. So 46007 is my zip code. He started on August the 3rd, so I'm doing 8/3/2015. His salary, he makes $36,750. I do not have to type any commas, dollar signs, or anything. I'm just going to type the digits, and it will automatically format it for me. And his bonus rate is going to be 0.09. I'm going to hit tab. That completes him and takes me to the second one. But I just told you that I skipped entering a city. So what I'm going to do is hit save. And then I'm going to go to my view, design view. I'm going to type in my city. That is going to be a short text. And let me just double check what the size of the city is. I miss it every time. So the size of the city is 20, which recorded it here, but then I want it up here before the state. So I can just click and then I can drag to put it before the state. I'm going to hit save again. I save very, very often whenever I'm using Access. Now to get back to where I was, I'll go back to view and go to data sheet view. And I'm come up here and I need to put in his city, which was Davidson. And he is in Indiana. Okay, now I've got him all fixed. So I said before, make sure your columns are correct. So I can actually come up here if I wanted to and double click to make those correct. M-U-R-R, and I misspelled the name of his street. M-U-R-R-A-Y. Well, I'm not doing very good today. Okay. So make sure everything is showing. I hit save again. Okay, I'm going to come down to the next line and I'm going to be entering in my second person. So you can follow the steps we just did for the second record. If you go to page 17, you're going to see who the second person is. So you have to go back a page. This is account number 31, Riviera, Katie. She is at 325 Twitty Street in Avondale, Illinois, 60311. She started on June the 3rd, 2013. She makes a salary of $48,750 and her bonus rate is 0.15. Okay, so we have our two managers in there. So let's go ahead and hit save. And we could actually close our table at this point. So it actually wants you to close Access. We're not going to do that, but if you did want to close Access, when you open it back up, this is what your screen's going to look like. And then we can go back in and do some editing. If you do get a security warning up here once you close, just go ahead and enable the content. It is, you are able to, or some people could write a virus into Access. And so that's why it wants you to make sure that you trust who you got the source from. I hope I didn't give you a virus. I think you're all good. So we're going to come back to our account manager table and open it. I'm just going to double click. It did rearrange these, so it automatically put our account numbers in order. That's okay. And we are ready to add a new record. So I'm just going to click down here and I'm going to add the records that are shown on page 21 of your book. It's going to show all of them. So the next two. So it is number 58. This is, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Murawski Karen, 168 Truesdale Drive in Carlton, Illinois, 60313, started 11/9 of 16, salary of $24,000, and a bonus rate of 0.08. Double check, make sure you're getting all your zeros in there for her salary. The next one is account 35. This is going to be Simpson Mark at 1467 Hartwell Street in Walker, Indiana. 46004, started 5/19/2014. Oops. Here, see, I messed up. I accidentally hit an extra button. So it's telling me I can't do that because that doesn't make sense. So I'm just going to do here, I'm going to do enter normal, or enter a new value. and it'll let me fix it. Okay. Salary amount is $40,500 with a bonus rate of 0.12. Okay, go ahead and hit save, and let's close the table. When you close the table, it probably would have said, do you want to save this? And you would have hit yes. And so just like in Excel, I've already talked about resizing columns. So let's go ahead and open it back up. So I want you to learn how to open and close it. So we're going to open it. We're going to point to the right boundary of the account manager number field, and we're going to double click because that field was bigger than it needed to be. So let's go through and just double click on all of them to make them the appropriate lengths. Always do this before you turn in an assignment. If there are things cut off, I'm going to cut off your points. Okay. And we will then close the table again. It says, do you want to save it? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's go ahead and preview this. So we've got a table made. It has fields. We filled in the records for 4 of our account managers. So let's see what we would do if we wanted to print this, because we can just print a table. So you need to make sure that account manager is the table selected. And we're going to go to file. It does not have to be open, just selected, print. And then there's a couple different options. There's quick print, which would send it directly to the printer. You can't change the printer. Print, where you get to select the printer and how many copies, and print preview. We're just going to do print preview. And it's going to open it up, and we can see all of the information that we just put into our database. So some things that we're going to change, because we want to make sure it all fits on one page, and right now it's cutting part of it off, and the rest of the information goes on page 2, where then I don't even know who these start dates and salaries go to. So I'm going to change this to landscape. So just like in Excel, we're going to make some modifications to make it fit better. Okay. I'm still not seeing everything. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to margins, and I'm going to choose narrow. There we go. Now I have everything showing. Oh, it said normal. Sorry. Let's try normal. Okay. Everything is showing. You will notice it goes ahead and puts the date up here, and the page number, and what this table is. Okay, we're not really going to print, but I can tell that you have gone through and made those changes. So go ahead and close the print preview button. If you were going to print, you would have hit print. Okay, next we're going to look at importing or linking data from other applications into Access. So if your data for a table is stored in an Excel worksheet, you can import that data, which means make a copy of it and put it into Access so we don't have to retype it. So what we're going to do is, you should have already downloaded the file from Blackboard. It's an Excel file, and so you should have that one downloaded. So download it, but do not open it. Just make sure you know where it's downloaded at on your computer. So we're going to import this worksheet using the import spreadsheet wizard. It's pretty easy to do. So I'm just going to go to external data, because that's where it's coming from, is external. Over here is the import side. Here is the export side. I'm importing from Excel. Okay, it's going to say, what file are you importing? So now I have to browse, and I have to go find my file. So let's hope mine's still there. Okay, and the one we want is called the Pratt account, and hit open. All right, it has 3 questions. First one is import the source data into a new table in the current database. Append a copy of the records into the table, which means merge them into a table we already have, or just link them. So what we're going to, if you linked it, any changes you made in Excel will automatically be done within Access. However, your source data can't be changed from within Access. Well, we do want to make those changes. So the first option is the one we want, and we're going to hit OK. It's going to come up with some questions. Make sure you go through all the questions. Don't just hit next, next, next. So the first one, Microsoft can use your column headings and field names for your table. Does your table that you're importing from Excel have title headings? So we can look here. You may have to make this decision on your own for your homework. It may not tell you. So look, do these look like field names across the top row, or do they look the same as the records? Well, obviously this is the field name. Account number, here they are. Account name, here they are. So I need a check mark. First row contains column headings. That means it's going to make this my field name and these are my records. Hit next. Okay, this one, you can specify information about each one. So at this point, you could go through and decide, okay, this is my account number, it's short text, all kinds of things like that. We're going to skip that and do it later once we already get it in Excel. So hit next. Okay, this is a very important one. Don't skip over. We have to have a primary key. Do we want access to provide an ID field and provided a primary key for us? No, we don't, because account number, those should all be unique and that will be our primary field. So we're going to go ahead and click it and then make sure that that shows account number. Hit next. Okay, what do we want to name our table? We're going to name it account. Okay, just making sure that's what it was. Okay, and we'll go ahead and hit finish. Next question, it's going to say, do you want to save these steps? So the book tells you to save your import steps, because if you do this a lot, you're going to, like frequently you're updating this, you're going to want to have those. We're not going to do that. So do not check mark that box. Just go ahead and hit close. And we are ready to start modifying our new table. So over here, we now have account manager and we have our accounts. So looking on page AC31, you're going to be able to see all the structure for setting up our fields. So how should I do this? Should I do it in the design view? I'm going to go back to home. So I can do it in design view or data sheet view. So I actually want to go to the design view. So I'm going to right click and click design view. That's going to open me up here. And then I need to make sure that all this information matches what's in the table on the book. So if I flip over here for you, and that is on page 31. Let me just scroll down and see if I can find it. Ooh, long way to go. Still not there. Just a second. Okay, right here is our table. So this is the table I'm talking about on page 31. We're going to want to make sure that all of this information is what's showing in our Access file. So account manager number, short text, it should be size 5. So down here, I need to change that to a 5. It is the primary key. I know that because it has a little picture of a key next to it. The description. Oh, you know what? I messed up. I need to fix that back. I opened up my account manager, not my account table. So I'm going to go ahead and close that one back up and not save the changes. Sorry, account is the one I meant to click on and open that in design view. So now account manager is short text. Field size is 5, so I need to change that to a 5. It is my primary key because it has a key. And then I need to add my description as shown in the book. It's an account number, which is 2 uppercase letters followed by a 3-digit number. It does have a caption. And down here is where I'm going to change my caption. It's going to be AC space number sign. Okay, then account name is short text with 30. Street is short text with 20. City is short text with 20. My state is short text with 2. Postal code, short text with 5. The amount paid is going to be currency, which it already figured out. A current due is going to be currency. And the account manager number is going to be short text with a field size of 2. It also has a description. Okay, here it's very important. Make sure this account manager is spelled correctly. It is set up exactly correctly, because later on we're going to have to get access to figure out that this account manager number links to the account manager number found in the account manager table. And if you have made any mistake with typing in the words, misspelling anything, setting it up differently, it's not going to identify it as being the same. All right. So go ahead and hit the save button. Okay, so what this is saying is the size of one or more fields has been changed to a shorter size. So for example, account number. We changed that from whatever it was, the 255 down to 5. So it's saying that if you already had any information in there that was over 5 characters, you're going to lose that. It's going to cut it off at 5. The state, if you had spelled out the state, it's going to cut it off at 2. That's okay. We do want to continue, so hit yes. Okay, we're going to go back to the data sheet view for that one. We're going to modify our column widths to make sure they are all appropriate. You can see here it's cutting a lot of them off. At least you didn't have to type that information in. Oh, did I miss the caption for account manager, I do believe. Yes, I did. So I'm going to go back to my design view. I'm on account manager, and down here for caption, I want to put AM space number sign. Hit save again. Now I'll go back to my data sheet view. Okay, so resize that one. All right, next we're going to be modifying the table in design view. Oh, wait, we already did that. Sorry. Next, we're going to start creating queries. So if you need to take a break, now's a good time to do that. So basically a query, and I'm on page 34, they are simply a question, the answers to which are in the database. Access contains a powerful query feature that helps you find the answers to a wide variety of questions. So basically know that a query is a question. So my question or my query could be, who are all the senior girls? And it would look to see who's a senior, and is that senior also a girl? That's a query. So we're going to be using the simple query wizard to create a query. There's a couple different ways to do it. In chapter 1, we're going to be using the wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and close my table. Yes, I do want to save the changes. I've got it closed, but over here, I'm going to be doing my query to the account table. So for account, I need to make sure it's pink. And then I come up to create. You're going to use the tab for create a lot. We want to use the query wizard. And it's basically going to ask us some questions. We want a simple query wizard. Hit OK. What do we want in our query? We want the account number field. So I'm going to move it over here so I can do it with the arrow, or I can double click. We want the account name, the amount paid, jumping down here, and current due, and the account manager number. Go ahead and hit next. Okay, we want details, so we want to see every field of every record that we have selected. Hit next. We want it to name this one account query. So go ahead and hit next. Oh, sorry, finish. Now we have a query. So it gave us, we wanted everybody, but we only wanted to see this information about everybody. So that's a query. Okay. You're going to do this step so many times that you're going to get bored with it. Okay. Every time we're going to change it up just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close to remove it from the screen. And this is the close I'm referring to whenever I say close. Okay. Now under queries, we have an account query. Next, we're going to add some criteria to the query. So a criteria is, so my first query could have been all the students in the school and give me just part of their information. Next, we would set the criteria. So maybe I want the criteria to be they have to be a senior. So that would be a criteria. For this example, we're going to include only those accounts that are managed by account number 35, which is Mark Simpson. So we're going to have to tell it that we only want number 35 in the account manager field. And if that's not their account manager, don't show us the information. So I'm going to right click the account query because we're going to just modify the one we created. And I'm going to do design view. Okay. I also could have double clicked it. Or come up here to view and hit design view. A couple different ways to do it. So here it shows it just the way we have it set up. We did the wizard to get all this information filled in. In the next chapter, we're going to start here. If you want that box to be bigger, you can just drag it so you can see all the information. So on the criteria row down here, criteria is what conditions does it have to meet in order to show it to me. We want the account manager over here to be account 35. So on criteria row, make sure you're on the right row, and in the right column, I'm going to type 35 and hit run. Run is the red exclamation point. You have to be on the design tab to see it. When you hit run, it means run and give me the results. So you can see here, all of the account manager numbers are 35, so it worked correctly. I'm going to hit close. It says, do you want to save the changes? And this time the book says no. So hit no. Okay, we can also print the results of a query just like we could a table. So I'm clicked on it down here on account query. I go to file, print. I can go to print preview. And we can actually see it. It all fits on one page, so I don't have to change any of the formatting. Go ahead and hit close. Okay, we can also create a form. So just like you would fill out an online form where you're filling in the boxes, we can create a form in Access. This would be handy, especially if you're letting someone else use your database and enter information into it and you don't want them to mess anything up. So we're going to do the account table. We're going to hit create on the ribbon. This is so easy, guys. And we're going to hit form. So now you can see all the information for each account on their own individual form. You can hit the down here to go on. When you get to the end, it would actually give you a blank form that you could fill in. So let's just go ahead and hit save. That's all you have to do to create a form. We are going to name it account form. So account form. Hit OK. Okay, now that we created a form, you can use it, I said, as a blank one. Let's now look at, so let's close that one. We're going to look at creating and printing reports. So we're almost done with this chapter. So PrattLast Associates wants to be able to present account financial data in a useful format. So we're going to work with the account financial report. You can see the report on page 41 of your book because we can print out the table, we can print out a query, but if we make it into a report, it looks a little more professional, it's a little more formatted and looks better. So we're going to do this to the account table. So make sure you're on an account table because now we have a query section and a form section. We want to be on the query section. We're going to hit create. This time we're going to do a report. So we're going to do report over here. Not report design, not blank report, not report wizard, just regular report. Here is our report. So that was easy. It put all the information from all of our accounts into a nice looking report. It's got some shading, got some data. We're going to hit the save button on the quick access toolbar. It's going to say, what do you want to name this? We're going to name it the account financial report. And hit OK. Okay, so let's modify this report a little bit because right now you can see it's going over on 2 pages. The title is just called account. So we can modify this by, if we click up here on account, we can right click, and I think it's right click. Oh, just double click inside of it, sorry. And we're going to name it Account Financial Report. Don't use Access very often. Okay, so we did the report title. Next, we're going to do some of the column headings. So for street here, here's what you're going to do. We're going to click the column heading for street to select it. Hold Control and also get city, state, and postal code. So just like in Excel or in Word, you can select multiple things by holding down the Control key. Next, we're going to hit Arrange. This is a very important step. A lot of people miss it. So we actually need to be on the Arrange tab. And it wants us to click the Select Column buttons. Okay, select the column. So you have to go to Arrange and then select the whole column. Then we're going to hit the Delete key on our keyboard to delete those because we don't want those on our report. Next, we have the account number field, which is over here, and we have given it the caption of AC #. Well, on a report, that people may not know what that means. So I'm going to actually double click in there, and I'm going to change it so it says Account Manager Number. Okay, and I'm going to press Enter. And let me see if it has us do it then. So we're going to actually drag the lower boundary down here. I need the arrow that points up and down. I can actually drag that down so that it's going to layer it on top of each other, and drag that one over because I want it to say, oh, sorry, it should just be, oh, sorry, that's not the account manager number. I put it in the wrong spot. Take out the word manager. I knew I was doing something wrong. I got ahead of myself, so I can actually drag that one up a little bit. So account number here, and over here we will have account manager number. And play around with making those the correct size. So here I guess I did need to drag down a little bit. Okay, so I went ahead and put those 3. So I want them stacked on top of each other so it's not so wide. So you can also resize your columns. So I can actually point here, and I'm going to drag in so that it fits nicely. I can do that with any of my columns. If I get the 2-headed arrow, I can double click, but it's only doing it with this. So I just need to make sure that all of my columns are wide enough to show all the information in them. And this one here could actually be a little bit smaller. Okay. All right, so next down here, and I don't know why, but on my Excel, it always does this. It has it kind of cut off on that number. So I always drag that box to be a little bit bigger. And page 1 of 1 is always randomly out here off the page. So I'm just going to drag it in so it's on the page. Okay, next we're going to add some totals to our report. So we want to know the total amount paid and the current due. So we're going to go to the amount paid field. We have to hit Design on our tab up here. We're going to then hit the Totals button. So just like in Excel, we have a Totals button. And we want it to be a sum because we wanted to add those up. So do the same thing for current due, but you'll notice mine did it for me automatically. If yours did not, you may have to put that in. Okay, so make sure your page 1 of 1 is on. Make sure everything looks good on your page. Let's go ahead and hit the Save button. And to print it, same thing you would do before, File, Print, Print Preview. Make sure it's all fitting, looking good on one page. Okay, but we're not actually going to print. Okay, I do want you to go ahead and look through So the rest of the book, the rest of this chapter does talk about database properties, how to back it up, database design. So there is some information there you're going to want to look at for the test. So make sure you just kind of look through that. So that is it for the lesson we're doing together for Excel, for Access Chapter 1. So I'm going to close my report. This is what I look like here. I should have 2 tables, 1 query, 1 form, and 1 report. Everything should be saved. So whenever you go to turn this in, make sure that you have actually closed the entire database before you turn it in, because if you turn it in and the file has a little squiggly mark in front of it, I won't be able to open that. So for your assignment for this chapter, you've got 2 of them. You're going to do Lab 1, which is the Garden Naturally database. You're going to actually download this file. It's already created for you, and then you're going to do some work with it. And then you're going to do Lab 2, where you're going to be starting from a blank database. There is lots of steps to these. Be sure and read any notes that I've added on Blackboard about how to do these or steps that you need to skip. And that is Chapter 1. Try to make sure everything you do in Chapter 1 is correct, because when you work in Chapter 2, you're going to be working with the files that we are creating in Chapter 1. So it's important that you have everything correct on those. Okay, and if you have any questions, be sure and let me know.